The Assembly will come to order. The Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Assemblywoman Anderson, Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson, Assemblywoman Bilbra Axelrod, Assemblywoman Black, Assemblywoman Brown May, Assemblywoman Carlton, Assemblywoman Cohen, Assemblywoman Considine, Assemblywoman Dickman,
Here.
Assemblywoman Duran, Assemblyman Ellison, Assemblyman Flores, Assemblywoman Gonzalez, Assemblywoman Gorlow, Assemblyman Hathen, Assemblywoman Hanson, Assemblywoman Hardy, Assemblywoman Howdigi, Assemblywoman Kasama, Assemblywoman Krasner, Assemblyman Levitt, Assemblywoman Martinez, Assemblywoman Marzola, Assemblyman Matthews, Assemblyman MacArthur, Assemblywoman Brittany Miller, Assemblyman C.H. Miller, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, Assemblywoman Wynn, Assemblyman O'Neill, Assemblyman Ortlicker, Assemblywoman Peters, Assemblyman Roberts, Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong, Assemblywoman Thomas, Assemblywoman Titus, Assemblywoman Tolles, Assemblywoman Torres, Assemblyman Watts, Assemblyman Wheeler, Assemblyman Yeager, Assemblywoman Black, Speaker Frierson.
Here, Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May the record reflect the Assemblywoman Black is absent. We have 41 members present.
There are 41 members present. There is a quorum. The Assembly will please rise for the prayer by Pastor Jake Musselman of the Crossing in Las Vegas.
God, you are a good Father who longs to give good gifts to his children. Today I pray for your blessing over each legislator. They've chosen the responsibility of servanthood to this state. They have worked and will continue to work for life and liberty. Grant them character to faithfully execute their office. Bless them with strength and energy to complete this legislative session well. Protect them and their families from harm and sickness, and bless them with your good gifts. Be glorified through them. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance Order of Business 2, reading and approval of the journal.
Carson
Mr.
City,
Speaker.
Thursday.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to dispense with further reading of the journal and authorize the Speaker and Chief Clerk to make necessary corrections or additions.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Go to Order of Business 4, reports of standing committees.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Commerce and Labor, to which was referred Senate Bill 44, has had the similar consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation amended due pass as amended. And your Committee on Commerce and Labor, to which was referred Senate Bill 75, has had the similar consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation amended due pass as amended. And your Committee on Commerce and Labor, to which was referred Senate Bill 307, has had the similar consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation amended due pass as amended. And your Committee on Commerce and Labor, to which was referred Senate Bill 320 has had the similar consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation amended due pass as amended. Senator Howdigi, Chair. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Government Affairs, to which was referred Senate Bill 150, has had the similar consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation amended due pass as amended. And your Committee on Government Affairs, to which was referred Senate Bill 283, has had the similar consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation amended due pass as amended. Edgar Flores, Chair. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Ways and Means, to which was referred Senate Bill 444, has had the similar consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation due pass. And your Committee on Ways and Means, to which was referred Assembly Bill 457, has had the similar consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation amended due pass as amended. And your Committee on Ways and Means, to which was referred Assembly Bill 480, has had the similar consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation amended due pass as amended. And your Committee on Ways and Means, to which was referred Senate Bill 439, has had the similar consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation amended due pass as amended. Maggie Carlton, Chair.
Order of Business 7, messages from the Senate.
Senate Chamber, Carson City, May 20, 2021. To the Honorable the Assembly. I have the honor to inform the Honorable Body that the Senate on this day passed Senate Bills 185, 233, 449, 450, Assembly Bills 87, 89, 91, 95, 97, 100, 101, 102, 103, 107, 109, 111, 112, 113, 130, 136, 140, 141, 145, 166, 169, 178, 184, 187, 190, 194, 197, 205, 210, 212, 215, 215, 220, 231, 235, 236, 245, 249. And I have the honor to inform the honorable body that the Senate on this day amended and on this day passed as amended Assembly Bill 42, Amendment 655, 714, and respectfully request your honorable body to concur in said amendments. And I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate amended and on this day passed as amended Assembly Bill 88, Amendment 539, Assembly Bill 104, Amendment 656, Assembly Bill 105, Amendment 540, Assembly Bill 115, Amendment 589, Assembly Bill 132, Amendment 677, Assembly Bill 147, Amendment 576, Assembly Bill 148, Amendment 577, Assembly Bill 153, Amendment 644, Assembly Bill 158, Amendment 641, Assembly Bill 177, Amendment 522, Assembly Bill 181, Amendment 520, Assembly Bill 182, Amendment 588, Assembly Bill 186, Amendment 645, Assembly Bill 195, Amendment 541, Assembly Bill 200, Amendment 556, Assembly Bill 202, Amendment 659, Assembly Bill 207, Amendment 626, Assembly Bill 214, Amendment 498, Assembly Bill 250, Amendment 624, and respectfully request your honorable body to concur in said amendments. And I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate on this day adopted Assembly Concurrent Resolution Number 6. And I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate on this day passed as amended Senate Bill 205. And I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate on this day passed as amended Senate Bill 442. And I have the honor to inform your honorable body that the Senate on this day concurred in Assembly Amendment 534 to Senate Bill 31, Assembly Amendment 545 to Senate Bill 33, Assembly Amendment 578 to Senate Bill 36. Sherry Rodriguez, Assistant Secretary of the Senate.
Go to order business 9, introduction, first reading, and reference to bills.
Mr. Speaker, actually, if we could skip that for now and go to order business 12.
We can go to order business 12, general file and third reading. Do you have any order business 8?
I do, actually. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we could go to order business 8 first.
Order business 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that Senate Bill 444 and Senate Bill 439 be placed to the top of general file for purposes of amendment.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Senator Benita Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate Bill 349, 253, 395, and 254 be taken from their place on general file and be placed on the chief clerk's desk.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And now, Mr. Speaker, if we could go to order business 12.
We go back to order business 12, general file. We have another order business 8, Assemblywoman Carlton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Under order of business number 8, I would move that Assembly Bill 443 and Senate Bill 5 be taken from general file and referred to your Committee on Ways and Means.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Go back to order business 12, general file and third reading.
Senate Bill 444, introduced by the Committee on Finance. An act making a supplemental appropriation to the state distributive school account for an unanticipated decrease in revenues for the 2019-2020 and 2020-2021 school years and providing them as properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly do enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 2, end of Section 2, end of bill.
Are there members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate, I almost want to try to do an amendment on this. Sorry about that. Senate Bill 444 appropriates $268.4 million from the general fund to the distributive school account due to an unanticipated decrease in revenues for the 1920 and 2021 school years. This act becomes upon passage and approval. They need the money.
Any further remarks? There being none, the chief clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. To be able to see the constitutional majority, declare passing. Order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 439, introduced by the Committee on Finance. Enact relating to education, revising provisions relating to the Education Gift Fund, revising the sources of revenue for the State Education Fund, revising the method for determining the amount of and distributing money to support the operation of public schools in the state, revising the method for providing additional money to support pupils with disabilities, transferring responsibility for apportioning money relating to the National School Lunch Program from the Superintendent of Public Instruction to the Director of the State Department of Agriculture, eliminating requirements for the Department of Education to prepare and submit certain reports, eliminating certain accounts, and providing other matters properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 40, end of Section 40, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
Amendment 718, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means.
Assemblywoman Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we adopt Amendment 718 to Senate Bill 439.
Assemblywoman Carlton has moved that the Assembly adopt Amendment 718 to Senate Bill 439. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It changes the term actual to budgeted. It brings down the budgeted reserve to 12% and allows for money to trip into the stabilization account when the money hits above 16%.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopting Amendment 718 to Senate Bill 439 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Amendments adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bills ordered general file. Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate Bill 439 be placed at the top of general file.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Go back to order business 12.
Senate Bill 439, introduced by the Committee on Finance and Act relating to education, revising provisions relating to the Education Gift Fund, revising the sources of revenue for the State Education Fund, revising the method for determining the amount of and distributing money to support the operation of public schools in the state, revising the method for providing additional money to support pupils with disabilities, transferring responsibility for apportioning money relating to the National School Lunch Program from the Superintendent of Public Instruction to the Director of the State Department of Agriculture, eliminating requirements for the Department of Education to prepare and submit certain reports, eliminating certain accounts, and providing other matters properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 40, end of Section 40, end of bill.
Are the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a rather long floor statement, but I believe it's very important because we are changing the way we fund education in the state, that it's important that everyone understand all the different components that are in the bill. So the bill revises the sources of revenue for the State Education Fund. It excludes the interest and income earned on the direct legislative appropriation to the State Education Fund from being credited to the fund. Eliminates the requirement to fund the operations of the State Board of Education, Superintendent of Public Instruction, and the Department of Education from the State Education Fund, and it revises provisions related to the Education Stabilization Account. It also revises the requirement to transfer funding to the Education Stabilization Account based on the total budgeted expenditures for the County School District Fund rather than the total actual expenditures that exceed 16.6% of the total expenditures of the fund. It reduces the portion of budgeting ending fund balance of a county school district fund which is not subject to collective bargaining from 16% to 12%, and excludes ending fund balances greater than 16.16% from collective bargaining, and requires that those amounts be transferred to the Education Stabilization Account pursuant to NRS 387-1213. It eliminates the requirements to provide funding for the actual education needs of pupils with disabilities through additional weighted funding for each such pupil from the State Education Fund, and instead requires the establishment of a statewide multiplier for the support of pupils with disabilities. It revises and repeals the adjustment for each necessary small school in a school district, and instead creates an adjustment for the increased cost per pupil to the school district to operate public schools in which relatively fewer pupils are enrolled. Requires interest and income earned on the money in the Education Gift Fund to be credited to the fund, and requires the balance in the fund at the end of a fiscal year to be carried forward into the next fiscal year. It transfers the apportionment of certain money designated for the National School Lunch Program to the Director of the State Department of Agriculture. It eliminates certain reporting requirements that will no longer be necessary. It revises provisions related to the timing and reporting of recommended minimum expenditure on textbooks, instructional supplies, instructional software, and instructional hardware for public schools. It requires the transfer of any remaining balance in the State Education Fund to the Education Stabilization Account at the end of each biennium rather than at the end of each year. authorizes the Department of Education to submit a request to the Interim Finance Committee for a transfer from the Education Stabilization Account to the State Education Fund if the committee determines actual enrollment growth for a fiscal year exceeds the projected enrollment growth and a transfer is necessary to fund the excess enrollment. Revises provisions related to the biennial budget preparation for the State Education Fund and eliminates certain other accounts relating to education. The provisions of the bill as amended related to the statewide multiplier for the support of pupils with disabilities is effective upon passage and approval, while all other sections are effective July 1st, 2021. Order of Business 15, Mr. Speaker.
Order of Business 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the latitude. I thought it was very important that with all the work that has been done on this and all the conversations that we have had about how we are going to fund pupils in our education system throughout the state, that all these items be put on the record. With the actions that this committee has taken over the last couple of days, we have put a lot of $500 million into education, and today you just voted on a supplemental of over $237 million because the education fund came up short. I believe what the body is doing for education right now is historic, and a lot of work has been put into it. We can't thank everyone that was involved, but we all know that it took everybody to get this far. So thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 439?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 36 ayes, 5 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare it passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Mr. Speaker, if we could go to Order Business 4 real quick.
We go back to Order Business 4.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Commerce and Labor, to which was referred Senate Bill 217, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back with the recommendation then do pass as amended. Sandra Howdiggy, Chair.
Thank you. We go back to Order Business. Do we have an 8?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under Order Business 8, I move that Senate Bills 317 and 369 be moved to the top, be taken from their place in general file, and be moved to the top of general file for the purposes of amendment.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Also, under Order Business 8, I move that Senate Bill 67 and Senate Bill 109 be taken from the Chief Clerk's desk and be placed under Senate Bill 369 for purposes of amendment.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We go back to Order Business 12.
Senate Bill 317, introduced by Senator Ornschelp, an act related to juvenile justice, revising provisions governing employment with the Department of Juvenile Justice Services and providing other matters properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 4, end of Section 4, end of bill.
Are the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
Amendment 717, proposed by Assemblyman Yeager.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly adopt Amendment 717 to Senate Bill 317.
Assemblyman Yeager's moved that the Assembly adopt Amendment 717 to Senate Bill 317. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment clarifies that the 180 days referenced in the bill are calendar days. It allows an offset of back pay for income from outside employment, and it also changes the effective date of the bill.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopt Amendment 717 to Senate Bill 317, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Amendments adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bill's ordered general file.
Senate Bill 369, introduced by the Committee on Judiciary, an act relating to criminal procedure, removing the requirement that an arrested person show good cause before being released without bail, providing that a court may only impose bail or a condition of release or both on a person if the imposition is the least restrictive means necessary to protect the safety of the community or to ensure the appearance of the person in court, requiring prosecuting attorneys under certain circumstances to prove by clear and convincing evidence that the imposition of bail or a condition of release or both on a person is necessary to protect the safety of the community or to ensure the appearance of the person in court and providing other measures properly relating thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 6, end of Section 6, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
I have Amendment 676, proposed by Assemblyman Yeager.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly adopt Amendment 676 to Senate Bill 369.
Assemblyman Yeager's moved that the Assembly adopt Amendment 676 to Senate Bill 369. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Amendment 676 removes the rebuttable presumption in Section 3, subsection 4 of the bill.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopt Amendment 676 to Senate Bill 369 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bill's order general file.
Senate Bill 67, introduced by the Committee on Government Affairs and Accolade and Public Works, creating a pilot program to gather data on the use of job order contracts for certain public works in Clark County, the City of Henderson, the City of Las Vegas, the City of North Las Vegas, and the Clark County Water Reclamation District, temporarily authorizing the governing bodies of these entities to enter into a job order contract for the maintenance, repair, alteration, demolition, renovation, remediation, or minor construction of a public work, prescribing the procedure for awarding a job order contract, making certain documents and other information submitted by a person seeking a job order contract confidential until the contract is awarded, prescribing the responsibilities of a contractor who enters into a job order contract, revising provisions relating to the expedited process by which the state or a local government solicits bids and awards contracts for certain smaller public works projects or complete such projects itself, and providing other matters properly named thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 15, end of Section 15, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
I have Amendment 713, proposed by Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly adopt Amendment Number 713 to Senate Bill 67.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson has moved that the Assembly adopt Amendment 713 to Senate Bill 67. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Among other things, the amendment requires the Labor Commissioner to enforce the provisions of existing law governing public works for a job order contract in the same manner in which he or she enforces the provisions of a contract for a public work within the same estimated cost. It also, in Section 7, requires that such task proposals to be included in the proposed price for the job order of each construction task required to perform in the job order, the unit price for such a task, and the adjustment factor applied to the performance of the task. Also defines adjustment factor as well as construction task. As well, it requires in Section 14 of the bill that the governing body of the public body to annually submit to the Director of the Legislative Council Bureau a written report including information reporting to the governing body during the immediate preceding calendar year.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopt Amendment 713 to Senate Bill 67 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bill's order general file.
Senate Bill 109, introduced by Senator Spearman, and activating governmental agencies, requiring governmental agencies to request from certain persons information related to sexual orientation and gender identity or expression, providing with certain exceptions that such information is confidential, requiring a governmental agency to annually report certain information related to sexual orientation and gender identity or expression to the Director of the Legislative Council Bureau, and providing other matters properly named thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 7, end of Section 7, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
I have Amendment 732, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs.
Assemblyman Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Amendment 732 to Senate Bill 109.
Assemblyman Flores has moved that the Assembly adopt Amendment 732 to Senate Bill 109. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment clarifies the requested information may be used for carrying out the duties of the governmental agency and deletes the words demographic and replaces the word collects and request.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopt Amendment 732 to Senate Bill 109 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bill's order general file.
Assembly Bill 457, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means. An act making an appropriation to the Division of Forest G of the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for deferred maintenance projects and providing other matters properly named thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 2, end of Section 2, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
I have Amendment 507, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means.
One
So-
minute recess.
1 minute recess. The Assembly will come back to order. Assemblywoman Carlton.
And thank you, Mr. Speaker. My apologies. I would move for the adoption of Amendment 507 to Assembly Bill 457.
Assemblywoman Carlton has moved. The Assembly adopt Amendment 507, Assembly Bill 457. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It changes the amount of the appropriation to $637,890.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopt Amendment 507 to Assembly Bill 457 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Amendments adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bills order general file. Do you have order business 8, Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We can do that. Order of Business 8, I move that Senate Bill 67 be taken from its place in general file and be moved to the top of general file.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Go back to order of business 12.
Senate Bill 67, introduced by the Committee on Government Affairs. An act relating to Public Works, creating a pilot program to gather data on the use of job order contracts for certain public works in Clark County, the City of Henderson, the City of Las Vegas, the City of North Las Vegas, and the Clark County Water Reclamation District, temporarily authorizing the governing bodies of those entities to enter into a job order contract for the maintenance, repair, alteration, demolition, renovation, remediation, or minor construction of a public work, prescribing the procedure for awarding a job order contract, making certain documents and other information submitted by a person seeking a job order contract confidential until a contract is awarded, prescribing the responsibilities of a contractor who enters into a job order contract, and providing other matters properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 15, end of Section 15, end of bill.
The amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
There are none.
Remarks? This is 67. There don't have to be any. There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 67?
No.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted no.
Any motion to change their vote? There are 28 ayes, 13 nays. Bill, I receive the Constitutional majority. Declare passed and order transmitted to Senate.
Assembly Bill 480, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means, an act relating to criminal defense, revising various provisions relating to the appointment of attorneys, removing limitations on fees earned by certain attorneys, revising provisions relating to claims for compensation and expenses made by certain attorneys, creating a special account for the support of indigent defense services, revising certain deadlines or requirements placed on boards of county commissioners relating to the transfer of responsibility for the provision of indigent defense services to the state public defender, and providing other matters properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 20, end of Section 20, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
I have Amendment 679, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means.
Assemblywoman Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move for the adoption of Amendment 679 to Assembly Bill 480.
Assemblywoman Carlton has moved that Assembly adopt Amendment 679, Assembly Bill 480. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It adjusts the pay rates in the bill.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopt Amendment 679, Assembly Bill 480 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Amendments adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
The bill's order general file.
Senate Bill 484, introduced by the Committee on Commerce and Labor. An act relating to behavioral health, authorizing the issuance of a provisional license or certificate to engage in various professions relating to behavioral health to an applicant who meets certain requirements, requiring licensing boards to regulate such professions, to report certain information, providing for the issuance of a license as a master social worker to an applicant who meets certain qualifications, authorizing a master social worker or independent social worker to engage in certain activities, prescribing required documentation for an applicant for a license to engage in social work who is a graduate of a foreign college or university, or authorizing the Board of Examiners of Social Workers to place a license to engage in social work on inactive status and refuse to issue a license under certain circumstances, requiring an employee of the board to submit a complaint against a licensee to the board under certain circumstances, prohibiting a person from engaging in the unlicensed practice of social work, providing for a study of certain licensing and certification procedures, providing penalty, and providing other matters properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 34, end of Section 34, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
I have Amendment 637, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Assemblywoman Howdigy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Amendment 637 to Senate Bill 44.
Assemblywoman Howdigy has moved that Assembly adopt Amendment 637, Senate Bill 44. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment revises provisions concerning the issuance of an expedited license by endorsement. It requires the applicable boards to provide an alternate means for an applicant to submit official transcripts under certain circumstances, adds new provisions to Chapter 641, 641A, 641B, and 641C. It also requires each board to submit the specified report to the chair of each regional behavioral health policy board, and it deletes Section 32.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopting Amendment 637 and Senate Bill 44 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bills ordered general file.
Senate Bill 75, introduced by the Committee on Commerce and Labor, enacting unemployment compensation, revising provisions relating to the personnel of the Employment Security Division of the Department of Employment Training and Rehabilitation, revising requirements relating to the confidentiality of information concerning unemployment compensation, authorizing an extended benefit period to begin before the 14th week following the end of a prior extended benefit period under certain circumstances, revising provisions governing the electronic transmission of certain communications related to unemployment compensation, revising provisions relating to eligibility for unemployment benefits under certain circumstances, revising provisions relating to the judicial review of a decision of the Board of Review, revising requirements for the payment of certain refunds and adjustments, modifying certain requirements concerning unemployment benefits paid in calendar year 2020, and providing other matters properly in thereto. The People's State of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 20, end of Section 20, end of bill.
On amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
I have Amendment 628, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Assemblywoman Howdigy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Amendment 628 to Senate Bill 75.
Assemblywoman Howdigy has moved that the Assembly adopt Amendment 628 to Senate Bill 75. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment replaces the United States Department of Labor with federal law. It deletes Section 19 of the bill. It requires the administrator, in response to a request from a court official with subpoena authority and in compliance with federal law, to furnish certain information concerning persons who receive benefits for use in selection of trial jurors.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopting Amendment 628 to Senate Bill 75 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bills ordered general file.
Senate Bill 150, introduced by Senators Harris et al., enacting housing, requiring the governing body of a city or county to authorize tiny houses in certain zoning districts and providing other matters properly laid thereto. The People's State of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 9, end of Section 9, end of bill.
On amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
I have Amendment 715, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs.
Assemblyman Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Amendment 715 to Senate Bill 150.
Assemblyman Flores has moved that the Assembly adopt Amendment 715 to Senate Bill 150. Remarks?
The amendment requires the governing body of a county or city to consider certain health and environmental effects of the location of tiny houses in the zoning districts designated in an ordinance or certain populations.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopting Amendment 715 to Senate Bill 150 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bills ordered general file.
Senate Bill 283, introduced by Senator Brooks. An act relating to local improvements, authorizing a municipality to create a district for certain qualified improvement projects, setting forth the requirements for creating such a district, authorizing certain financing to pay for a qualified improvement project in such a district, making various other changes relating to local improvements, and providing other matters properly in thereto. The People's State of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 19, end of Section 19, end of bill.
On amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
I have Amendment 708, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs.
Assemblyman Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Amendment 708 to Senate Bill 283.
Assemblyman Flores has moved that the Assembly adopt Amendment 708 to Senate Bill 283. Remarks?
In addition to other changes, the amendment revises certain definitions, prohibits the distribution and sale of electricity between property owners, disqualifies landowners by the Department of Defense, clarifies that municipalities are not responsible for cost of construction, specifies minimum standards and authority for the creation of a district, and authorizes the municipality to delegate the responsibility to recording notice of assessment and assessment lien.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopt Amendment 708 to Senate Bill 283 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bills ordered general file.
Senate Bill 307, introduced by Senator Don Loop. An act relating to alcoholic beverages requiring a supplier of liquor to approve certain transactions related to the ownership or assets of a wholesaler within a certain period of time under certain circumstances, prohibiting certain acts by suppliers with respect to wholesalers of liquor, authorizing a person who operates a brew pub to manufacture additional malt beverages for sale outside the state, revising their criteria for the approval of license to engage in certain activities related to alcohol, revising provisions governing certificates of compliance for suppliers, revising provisions governing the possession, sale, and transportation of liquor, and providing the matters properly laid thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 8, end of Section 8, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
I have Amendment 630 proposed by the Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Assemblywoman Howdy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Amendment 630 to Senate Bill 307.
Assemblywoman Howdy has moved that Assembly adopt Amendment 630 to Senate Bill 307. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment requires a supplier of liquor to approve or disapprove or deny approval for certain transactions related to the ownership or assets of a wholesaler within a certain period of time. It also revises provisions governing the operation of wineries.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopting Amendment 630 to Senate Bill 307 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion carries. The amendment's adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bills ordered general file.
Senate Bill 320, introduced by Senator Neal, an act relating to trade practices prohibiting a food delivery service platform provider from engaging in certain activities, requiring a food delivery service platform provider to remove a food dispensing establishment from the food delivery service platform of the provider upon request, requiring a food delivery service platform provider to make certain disclosures concerning online food orders, prohibiting a food delivery service platform provider from charging a food dispensing establishment any fees over a certain amount during any period in which a declaration of emergency for COVID-19 issued by the governor remains in effect, establishing certain practices as deceptive trade practices, providing penalties, and providing other matters properly in thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 19, end of Section 19, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
We have Amendment 711, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Assemblywoman Howdy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Amendment 711 to Senate Bill 320.
Assemblywoman Howdy has moved that the Assembly adopt Amendment 711 to Senate Bill 320. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment amends the definition of food delivery service platform. It amends the effective date of the bill and deletes the requirement that the specified statement include a disclosure of the average commission.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopt Amendment 711 to Senate Bill 320 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bills ordered general file.
Senate Bill 217, introduced by Senator Severs Gansert, an act relating to applied behavior analysis, transferring responsibilities concerning licensing and regulation of the practice of applied behavior analysis from the Aging and Disability Services Division of the Department of Health and Human Services to the Board of Applied Behavior Analysis, making provisions governing providers of health care applicable to behavior analysts, assistant behavior analysts, and registered behavior technicians, authorizing the board to contract with certain entities to carry out duties relating to regulating the practice of applied behavior analysis, requiring members of the board to complete orientation, revising the activities that constitute the practice of applied behavior analysis, revising requirements concerning the supervision of assistant behavior analysts and registered behavior technicians, exempting certain persons from provisions governing the practice of applied behavior analysis, revising the qualifications for membership on the board, establishing requirements for the ethical practice of applied behavior analysis, revising provisions governing licensure by endorsement and disciplinary actions, and providing other matters properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 101, end of Section 101, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
I have Amendment 632, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Assemblywoman Howdy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Amendment 632 to Senate Bill 217.
Assemblywoman Howdy has moved that the Assembly adopt Amendment 632 to Senate Bill 217. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment requires the board to establish a schedule of fees and charges for certain specified items related to the licensing and registration with certain specified maximum amounts.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopt Amendment 632 to Senate Bill 217 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
This is the bill's ordered general file.
Assembly Bill 357, introduced by Assemblyman Frierson, enacting consumer protection, creating the consumer protection legal account in the Office of the Attorney General and prescribing the use of money in the account, creating the consumer protection administrative account in the Bureau of Consumer Protection within the Office of the Attorney General and prescribing the use of money in the account, revising provisions relating to the distribution of money received from certain settlements and litigation and providing other matters properly in there too. The people stated that are represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 9, end of Section 9, end of bill.
All right, members, to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Considine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to refer to my previous disclosure retaining to my employer, the Legal Aid Center of Southern Nevada, and will be abstaining from voting on Assembly Bill 357.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 357?
No.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted nay.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 32 ayes, 8 nays, 1 abstention. Bill having received the constitutional majority declared passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Senate Bill 4, introduced by the Committee on Government Affairs, enacting fireworks, revising provisions governing the authority of a Board of County Commissioners to enact certain ordinances related to fireworks and providing other matters properly in there too. The people stated that are represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 3, end of Section 3, end of bill.
Any members to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The shortened version is that Senate Bill 4 clarifies that criminal or civil penalties or both may be imposed for violation of an ordinance that regulates the sale, use, storage, and possession of fireworks.
Thank you. Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 4?
Yeah. Yes.
Assemblywoman
Yes.
Dickman. Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 34 ayes, 7 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority declared passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Senate Bill 49, introduced by the Committee on Health and Human Services, enacting to cannabis, prohibiting synthetic cannabinoids from being produced, sold, or offered for sale in this state, authorizing the Cannabis Compliance Board to employ the services of persons the Board considers necessary for the purposes of hearing disciplinary proceedings, authorizing the Executive Director of the Board to serve a complaint on a respondent who is subject to a disciplinary proceeding, authorizing the Chair of the Board to grant one or more extensions to certain deadlines for holding a hearing, removing authorization for the Board to take testimony but deposition in hearings before the Board, revising provisions governing the regulatory waiver to the registration requirement for holders of an ownership interest of less than 5% in a cannabis establishment, changing the labeling requirement for cannabis products, revising provisions relating to cannabis and providing other matters properly in there too. The people stated that are represented in Senate and Assembly do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 4, end of Section 4, end of bill.
Any members to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 84 increases the maximum size of an election precinct from 3,000 to 5,000 registered voters.
Any further
Is this
remarks?
the wrong bill?
Oh,
I'm one before you. I am so sorry.
all right, so we're going back to Senate Bill 49 for remarks. Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 49 makes various changes related to cannabis. Specifically, it revises various powers granted to the Cannabis Compliance Board related to disciplinary proceedings. It also revises the definition of THC to include delta-9, tetrahydrocannabinol, and any structural, optical, or geometric isomer.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 49? Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority declared passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Senate Bill 84, introduced by the Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections, enacting to election precincts, changing the maximum number of active registered voters that may be included within an election precinct and providing other matters properly in there too. The people stated that are represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1. Section 2, end of Section 2, end of bill.
All right, members, Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
There are none.
Remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 84? Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill received the constitutional majority. Declare passed and order transmitted. Senate.
Senate Bill 94, introduced by Senator Settlemeyer, an act relating to property, providing that an unlocked gate, which is erected and maintained across certain public roads in certain counties, does not in and of itself constitute a public nuisance under certain circumstances, removing a provision making a place where vagrants resort a public nuisance, authorizing the Board of County Commissioners and the Board of County Highway Commissioners to take certain actions relating to the erection and maintenance of gates across certain public roads and providing otherwise properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 7, end of Section 7, end of bill.
Are there members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblyman Wheeler.
Senate Bill 94 provides that an unlocked gate does not, in and of itself, constitute a nuisance if a Board of County Highway Commissioners or a Board of County Commissioners, as appropriate, authorizes the erection and maintenance of the gate across a certain public roads in the county.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 94?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill received the constitutional majority. Declared passed. Order transmitted. Senate.
Senate Bill 95, introduced by Senator Ornschel. An act relating to business entities, revising provisions relating to surplus of process on management persons, making various changes to definitions relating to corporations, authorizing a corporation to include a federal forum selection clause in its articles of incorporation or bylaws, revising provisions relating to the breach of a fiduciary duty by a director or officer of a corporation, making various changes relating to meetings of stockholders held by means of remote communication, revising provisions relating to voting agreements of stockholders, revising provisions relating to notice of meetings of stockholders, revising provisions relating to insolvent corporations, revising provisions relating to discretionary indemnification of directors, officers, employees, and agents of corporations, providing an exception to the requirement that a corporation issue a certificate of membership, establishing and revising provisions relating to distributions made by limited liability companies, revising provisions relating to the form of contributions to capital of members of a limited liability company or series, making various changes relating to the standard of voting for actions taken by corporations, limited partnerships, and limited liability companies, revising provisions relating to dissenters' rights, and providing other matters properly laid thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 38, end of Section 38, end of bill.
Are there members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Assemblyman Orntliger.
Senate Bill 95 is an omnibus measure, as the clerk's reading indicates, that revises various provisions governing Nevada business entities. It clarifies a number of provisions and brings our corporate law provisions into line with best practices.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 95?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 38 ayes, 3 nays. Bill received the constitutional majority. Are declared to pass and order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 98, introduced by Senator Settlemeyer et al., Assemblyman Wheeler, an act relating to water, revising the boundaries of the Carson Water Subconservancy District and the membership of the Board of Directors of the district, requiring under certain circumstances the Board of County Commissioners of Story County to pay to the district a certain amount from the county's general fund and providing other matters properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 3, end of Section 3, end of bill.
Are there members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks? Assemblyman Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 98 expands the boundary of the Carson Water Subconservancy District to include the portions of Story County that are within the Carson River hydrological basin. The measure expands the membership of the Board of Directors of the Carson Water Subconservancy District from 11 to 13 members by including 2 residents of Story County.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Dickman, yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman, you voted yes? Correct?
Yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill received the constitutional majority. Declare pass and order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 102, introduced by Senator Hammond, an act relating to education, changing the date by which a child must be at least a certain age to be admitted to certain grades of school and providing other matters properly laid thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 2, end of Section 2, end of bill.
Are there members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Assemblywoman Bill Axelrod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 102 changes the date by which a child must be a certain age in order to be admitted to a certain grade from September 30th to the first day of school.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 102?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. The bill received the constitutional majority. I declare passed and order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 103, introduced by Senator Scheibel et al., and are relating to insurance prohibiting certain insurers from discriminating based on the breed of dog and an applicable property and providing the mayor's property line thereto. The people's state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 2, end of Section 2, end of vote.
Are there amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 103 prohibits an insurer from canceling, refusing to issue or renew, or increasing the premium for certain insurance policies on the sole basis of the breed of a dog that is kept on an applicable property. The bill provides an exception to this prohibition if the particular dog is known to be or declared to be dangerous or vicious.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 103?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 32 ayes, 9 nays. The bill has received the constitutional majority. I declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate. Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Order Business 8.
Order Business 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that Senate Bill 112 be taken from its place on general file and be moved to the bottom of general file.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Go back to Order Business 12.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the bill number.
Senate Bill 112.
One. Senate Bill 107, introduced by Senator Orenshaw, and act relating to civil actions establishing provisions relating to the statute of limitations for commencing an action in tort for common law wrongful termination of employment, revising provisions relating to the default statute of limitations for certain causes of action whose statute of limitations is not otherwise expressly prescribed by law, and providing of the mayor's property line thereto. The people's state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 4, end of Section 4, end of bill.
Are there members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Marzola.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 107 provides for a 2-year statute of limitations to commence an action in tort for common law wrongful termination of employment. The statute of limitation is told during consideration of any pending related state or federal administrative charge on the matter until 93 days after the conclusion of the proceedings.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Dickman, no.
Assemblywoman Dickman.
Has voted no.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted no.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 26 ayes, 15 nays. The bill has received the constitutional majority. Declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Senate Bill 114, introduced by Senators Goycochea et al., and act relating to hemp, exempting operators of certain food establishments from certain requirements relating to hemp under certain circumstances, requiring the Department of Health and Human Services to adopt certain regulations relating to food that contain certain components of hemp, authorizing operators of certain food establishments to engage in certain activities related to the production and sale of food that contains certain components of hemp, prohibiting a food from being deemed to be adulterated solely because such food contains certain components of hemp, and providing other mayor's property line thereto. The people's state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 7, end of Section 7, end of bill.
Are there any members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 114 revises the various provisions concerning hemp and the operation of food establishments at which food is not prepared or served for immediate consumption for the purpose of authorizing food that contains an approved hemp component to be produced or sold at such a food establishment under certain circumstances.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 114? Yes. Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill empty, the Constitution majority. Declare passed and order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 125, introduced by Senator Settlemeyer, an act relating to wildlife, authorizing certain persons to possess a golden eagle, authorizing the Board of Wildlife Commissioners to adopt regulations that authorize certain persons to transport, transfer, possess, or use a golden eagle in falconry, requiring certain persons to obtain a falconry license and an eagle permit before such persons are authorized to transport, transfer, possess, or use golden eagles in falconry, and providing other laws properly laying thereto, the people's state of Nevada, represented in the Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 3, end of Section 3, end of Bill.
Are there members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblyman Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 125 authorizes a person who is licensed as a master falconer and who meets certain federal conditions to possess a golden eagle under certain circumstances.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the room.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 125? Yes. Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declared passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Senate Bill 127, introduced by Senator Hardy, an act relating to the City of Mesquite, revising the process for appointing a city manager and city attorney and providing other matters properly thereto. The people's state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 2, end of Section 2, end of Bill.
Are there members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Toles.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 127 revises the charter of the City of Mesquite.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill
Yes.
127? Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill empty, the Constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Senate Bill 138, introduced by Senators Lang and Pickard, an act relating to land use planning, revising the requirements for an ordinance for planned unit development, revising the requirements for minimum site areas and parking for planned unit development, eliminating the requirement that a planned unit development obtain tentative approval, making various other changes relating to provisions relating to planned unit development, and providing other matters properly laying thereto. The people's state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 25, end of Section 25, end of Bill.
Are there members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Assemblywoman Dickman.
Short version, Senate Bill 138 provides that a city or county may only exercise powers relating to planned unit developments if the county or city enacts an ordinance for planned unit development in conformance with certain requirements.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes on Senate Bill 138.
Any further remarks? Oh, no, we already did that. Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed, order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 141, introduced by Senator Brooks, that act relating to public works, revising provisions related to the scope of horizontal construction and vertical construction for certain purposes, removing the prospective expiration of provisions relating to construction managers at risk, and providing other matters properly laying thereto. The people's state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 5, end of Section 5, end of Bill.
Are there members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 141 removes the prospective June 30th, 2021 expiration of the authority for public bodies to enter into contracts with construction managers at risk, therefore making the authorization permanent. The bill also expands the type of projects that are included in the definitions of horizontal construction and vertical construction. Thank you.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 141?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Senate Bill 145, introduced by Senator Spearman, An act relating to financial institutions, requiring certain financial institutions to notify the Commissioner of Financial Institutions once certain rating of the financial institution is publicly available, requiring certain financial institutions to conduct and report to the Commissioner certain training sessions for community-based organizations, requiring the Division of Financial Institutions of the Department of Business and Industry to post the rating of certain financial institutions on its internet website, requiring the Commissioner to submit a biennial report to the Legislative Commission relating to such ratings and such trainings and providing other matters properly named thereto. The people's state of that are represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1. Section 2, end of Section 2, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 145 requires a financial institution subject to the Federal Community Reinvestment Act of 1977 to notify the Commissioner of the Division of Financial Institutions of the Department of Business and Industry of their CRA rating as soon as it becomes publicly available. The bill also requires financial institutes to provide training to persons and organizations in the community, including but not limited to faith-based and consumer advocacy organizations about the obligations imposed on a financial institution by the CRA.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 145?
Nay.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted nay.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 31 ayes, 10 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted Senate.
Senate Bill 151, introduced by Senators Dodger, Lupin, Lang, an act relating to education, requiring the boards of trustees of a certain school district to develop a plan to improve certain pupil to personnel ratios, requiring the boards of trustees of certain school districts to submit an annual report on the plan to the Department of Education, requiring the department to compile and submit their reports to certain governmental entities, requiring school counselors, school psychologists, and school social workers to complete certain continuing education, requiring the Commission on Professional Standards in Education and the Board of Examiners for Social Workers to adopt certain regulations and providing other matters properly laid thereto. The people's state of that are represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 4, end of Section 4, end of bill.
All right, members, Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Krasner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 151 requires the Board of Trustees in Nevada's two largest school districts to develop plans to improve the ratio between pupils and specialized instructional support personnel, including recruitment and retention strategies for such personnel and annual targets to meet the recommended ratios. Additionally, SB 151 requires school counselors and psychologists and school social workers to complete continuing education requirements. Thank you.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 151?
Nay.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted nay.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 33 ayes, 8 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted Senate.
Senate Bill 160, introduced by Senators Kika et al. An act relating to education authorizing a university school for profoundly gifted pupils to enter into a cooperative agreement to provide dual credit courses, authorizing a school district, charter school, or university school for profoundly gifted pupils to enter into a cooperative agreement to provide dual credit courses with an institution of higher education located in another state under certain circumstances, and providing other matters properly laid thereto. The people's state of that are represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 3, end of Section 3, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Hardy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 160 authorizes a university school for profoundly gifted students to enter into a cooperative agreement to offer dual credit courses. Such agreements must be made with a regionally accredited higher education institution located in Nevada. A school may enter into such an agreement if the educational institution in another state, if Nevada does not offer such a course.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 160?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted Senate.
Senate Bill 166, introduced by Senator Scheibel, an act relating to crimes, revising provisions relating to crimes motivated by certain characteristics of the victim and providing other matters properly laid thereto. The people's state of that are represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 4, end of Section 4, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 166 removes a provision from law which requires that in order for a certain penalty enhancement to apply to felonies committed because of the characteristic of a victim, the perpetrator must not share those characteristics with the victim. Instead, this bill provides that the perpetrator may be punished by an additional penalty if the crime was committed based solely on the characteristics of the victim.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 166?
Nay.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted nay.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 32 ayes, 33 ayes, 8 nays. Bill receiving the constitutional majority. Declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Senate Bill 168, introduced by Senators Lang et al., an act relating to cannabis, authorizing the Cannabis Compliance Board to adopt regulations imposing requirements relating to the packaging and labeling of cannabis and cannabis products, authorizing a cannabis sales facility to engage in curbside pickup under certain circumstances, revising certain requirements relating to the labeling of cannabis products, revising requirements relating to information that is required to be provided to purchasers of cannabis or cannabis products, requiring the board to adopt regulations allowing for certain records of a cannabis establishment to be created and maintained in electronic format and providing other matters properly laid thereto, the people's state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 8, end of Section 8, end of bill.
Are there members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks? Assemblyman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 168 makes various changes related to cannabis. Specifically, it requires the Cannabis Compliance Board to adopt regulations governing curbside pickup and allowing certain records to be created and maintained electronically. The bill also authorizes the board to adopt regulations imposing packaging and labeling requirements for cannabis products. In addition, cannabis sales facilities are authorized to engage in curbside pickup in accordance with board regulations. The bill revises labeling requirements to require cannabis establishments to ensure that all cannabis products are labeled with certain information, and it requires sales facilities to convey certain information rather than providing written notification.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 168?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 35 ayes and 6 nays. Bill received the constitutional majority. Declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Senate Bill
Mr. Speaker, if we could do order business 8, please.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson, order business 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate Bill 172 be taken from its place on general file and be moved to the bottom of general file.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Go back to order business 12.
Senate Bill 173, introduced by Senators John Deere, Lope et al., Assemblywomen Anderson and Torres, an act relating to education authorizing the Board of Trustees of a school district and the State Public Charter School Authority to submit to the Superintendent of Public Instruction plans to address loss of learning that occurred as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, requiring the submission of to certain entities of certain reports relating to such plans to address loss of learning and providing other matters properly laid thereto, the people's state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 3, end of Section 3, end of bill.
Any members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks? Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 173 authorizes the Board of Trustees of each school district and the State Public Charter School Authority, or SPCSA, to submit to the Superintendent of Public Instruction a plan to address learning loss caused by the coronavirus disease of 2019 pandemic. Any such plan must include the option for pupils to attend summer school, either in person or online, and a description of the way schools and school districts, including charter schools, will target pupils most at the risk of learning loss. A school district or charter school offering summer school must include transportation and meal services. The school districts and the SPCSA must submit to the superintendent by November 30th, 2021, a report related to the plans developed, and then also that report shall be then compiled into one report for all of us here in the legislature. Order business 15, Mr. Speaker.
Order business 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of AB 173, the Back on Track Act. The transition, as we all know, was difficult. I think all of us applaud our students, our teachers, our administrators, our parents, our entire community for adapting the way that we've had to for the sudden shift to distance learning. The Back on Track Act is another step in helping our kids across the state to catch up by allowing each school district to make their unique plans. I ask for your support so that this way our expanded learning opportunities will allow our students to come back to a more normal, hopefully, August and September. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 173?
Nay.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted no.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 33 ayes, 8 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 176, introduced by the Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections, and relating to governmental purchasing, revising the duties of the Commission to study governmental purchasing and providing other matters properly relating thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 3, end of Section 3, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 176 expands the scope of the study for the Commission to study governmental purchasing to include best practices for awarding contracts to companies that represent the diversity of the state or that are located within communities served by the governing body awarding the contract.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 176? Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 40 ayes, 0 nays. We still have one. Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed. Order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 177, introduced by Senators Ratty et al., an act relating to crimes, revising provisions governing eligibility for and awarding of grants from the account for aid to victims of domestic violence, renaming the account, increasing the portion of the fee for a marriage license that funds the account, and providing other matters properly relating thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 10, end of Section 10, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 177 revises the eligibility of nonprofit organizations that provide services for victims of domestic violence to receive grants from the Account for Aid for Victims of Domestic Violence and renames the account as the Account for Aids of Victims of Domestic Violence or Sexual Assault. The portion of the fee that is collected by a county clerk when issuing a marriage license that is used to fund the account is raised from $25 to $50.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 177?
Nay.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted nay.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 32 ayes, 9 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 179, introduced by the Committee on Commerce and Labor, an act relating to interpreters, revising the activities for which registration as an interpreter or real-time captioning provider is required, revising the requirements and professional classifications for registration as an interpreter or real-time captioning provider, providing for the establishment of qualifications to serve as a professional mentor and additional professional classifications in the field of interpreting, revising certain terminology relating to interpreting and providing other matters properly relating thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 21, end of Section 21, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Marzola.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 179 makes various changes to provisions governing the practice of sign language interpreting. Among other things, it establishes provisional registration requirements for interpreters who do not meet the proposed standards for registration and provides a time frame for them to improve their knowledge and skills to meet the standards.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 179?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 181, introduced by Senators Goichi et al., Assemblyman Titus et al., an act relating to alcohol and drug counselors, revising the requirements for the completion of postgraduate counseling for certain licenses for alcohol and drug counselors and providing other matters properly relating thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 2, end of Section 2, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Torres.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 181 consolidates the postgraduate counseling program requirements for licensure as a clinical alcohol and drug counselor into a single program consisting of at least 3,000 hours. The bill allows a licensed clinical professional counselor who meets certain requirements to be licensed as a clinical alcohol and drug counselor. The bill also reduces from 4,000 to 3,000 the minimum hours of supervised counseling of persons with alcohol and other substance use disorders that are required for licensure as an alcohol and drug counselor. This bill is effective on October 1st, 2021. Order of Business 15.
Order of Business 15.
Thank you. We've had a lot of conversations in the state about reducing the burdens for licensed individuals, particularly in regards to occupational licenses. This reduces hours from 4,000 to 3,000 in a much needed area in our state, and I would urge my colleagues to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 181?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed. Order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 184, introduced by Senator Hardy et al. An act relating to professions, providing that a person may be simultaneously licensed as a physician assistant by the Board of Medical Examiners and the State Board of Osteopathic Medicine, providing for a fee for a simultaneous license, requiring the respective boards to supply a list of physician assistants licensed by the respective boards, revising their requirements governing licensure as a physician assistant and providing otherwise appropriately thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 47, end of Section 47, end of bill.
Any members of Section 1 of the bill to hold?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Considine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 184 makes various changes to the licensure, regulation, and supervision of physician assistants by the Board of Medical Examiners and the State Board of Osteopathic Medicine.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes on Senate Bill 184.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 36 ayes, 5 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed. And order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 186, introduced by the Committee on Commerce and Labor, an act relating to property requiring certain unit owners associations of common interest communities to establish and maintain an internet website or electronic portal through which unit owners may access certain information and pay assessments electronically, revising requirements concerning the provision of notice by an association prohibiting certain persons from purchasing a unit in a common interest community at a foreclosure sale, requiring a collection agency to file certain annual reports regarding debts collected from an association, prohibiting a collection agency from collecting certain debts owed to certain persons related to or affiliated with an owner of the collection agency and providing otherwise appropriately thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 5, end of Section 5, end of bill.
Any members of Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Assemblywoman Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 186 requires a unit owners association of a common interest community that contains 150 or more units to establish and maintain a secure internet website or secure portal through which a unit owner may access certain information and pay assessments electronically. In addition, certain persons are prohibited from purchasing a unit in a common interest community at a foreclosure sale. The measure prohibits a collection agency from collecting a debt from a person who owes fees to an apartment manager, unit owners association, or tow car operator under certain circumstances. And in addition, the bill requires a collection agency to file an annual report with the Commissioner of the Division of Financial Institutions of the Department of Business and Industry that includes certain information pertaining to debt collected for a unit owners association during the immediately preceding year. The manager of the collection agency must provide a signed statement affirming the collection agency did not collect a debt against a prohibited person. Provisions requiring a unit owners association to establish an internet website or secure electronic portal are effective on January 1st of 2022. Provisions requiring the use of a website or portal to provide unit owners with the ability to pay assessments electronically is effective on January 1st, 2023. All other provisions are effective upon October 1st of 2021.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 186?
Nay.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted nay.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 28 ayes, 13 nays. Bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 188, introduced by Senator Spearman, an act relating to public assistance requiring the Office of State Treasurer to solicit gift grants and donations to establish the Individual Development Account Program, under which certain persons may establish an Individual Development Account, creating the Nevada Statewide Council on Financial Independence, prohibiting certain entities from considering money deposited into an Individual Development Account by certain persons to be income under certain circumstances, requiring certain entities to ensure that instruction in financial literacy is provided to certain persons if money is available to provide such instruction, requiring the state treasurer to ensure that certain instruction and training is provided to a tenant of a housing project if money is available to provide such instruction and training, and providing the law is properly in there too. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 47, end of Section 47, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 188 provides for the establishment of the Individual Development Account Program by the Office of the State Treasurer if sufficient money is obtained, and creates the Nevada Statewide Council on Financial Independence to oversee the program, among other responsibilities. The program will allow certain persons from low-income households, a provider of foster care, or a relative or fictive kin in whose care a child is placed by a child welfare agency, to establish an individual development account into which money is deposited to save and use later for certain purposes. In conclusion, the bill requires the state treasurer to ensure that instruction and training and business opportunities are provided to tenants of housing authorities and certain nonprofits, and to appoint and employ a deputy of financial literacy and security.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 188?
No.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted no.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 36 ayes, 5 nays. Bill received the constitutional majority. Declare passed and order transmitted to Senate.
Senate Bill 190, introduced by Senators Canizaro et al., Assemblyman Torres et al., an act relating to contraceptives, requiring the State Board of Pharmacy to establish a protocol under which a pharmacist may dispense self-administered hormonal contraceptives to any patient, authorizing a pharmacist to dispense self-administered hormonal contraceptives to any patient, requiring a state plan for Medicaid and certain health insurance plans to provide certain benefits relating to self-administered hormonal contraceptives, and providing other measures properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 17, end of Section 17, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks, Assemblywoman Considine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 190 requires the State Board of Pharmacy to adopt regulations that establish a protocol allowing a pharmacy to dispense self-administered hormonal contraceptive to any patient. To dispense such contraceptives, a pharmacist must provide a risk assessment questionnaire to a patient who requests a self-administered hormonal contraceptive, create a record, provide the patient with certain information, and comply with relevant regulations and guidelines.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 190?
No.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted no.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 28 ayes, 13 nays. Bill received the constitutional majority. Declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Senate Bill 193, introduced by the Committee on Education, and act related to education, requiring the Board of Regents of the University of Nevada to prepare a report concerning students who are veterans, creating a preference in admission to certain programs for certain veterans, prohibiting the assessment of a tuition charge against certain veteran spouses and dependents, and providing the measures relating thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 7, end of Section 7, end of bill.
Any amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Assemblyman MacArthur.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 193 requires the Board of Regents of the University of Nevada to submit a report concerning student veterans to the legislature. The bill also requires the board to give preference in admission certain veterans in each nursing program and program for the education of teachers.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes on Senate
Anyone?
Bill.
Sorry. Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. The bill received the constitutional majority. Declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Senate Bill 196, introduced by Senators Lang et al., an act related to healthcare, prohibiting a provider of healthcare or a person supervised by a provider of healthcare from performing a pelvic examination under certain circumstances, authorizing the imposition of professional discipline against certain providers of healthcare who perform or supervise the performance of a prohibited pelvic examination and providing other measures properly thereto. The people's state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 13, end of Section 13, end of bill.
Are there amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks? Assemblywoman Toles.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 196 prohibits a healthcare provider from performing or supervising a pelvic examination on an anesthetized or unconscious patient without first obtaining the patient's informed consent, except under certain circumstances. The bill also prohibits a healthcare provider or a person supervised by a healthcare provider from supervising or performing a pelvic examination that the provider is not appropriately licensed, certified, or registered to perform, or that is not within the provider's scope of practice. Finally, the bill authorizes the imposition of professional discipline or denial of a license or certificate from a provider who performs or supervises a prohibited pelvic examination. This bill is effective on July 1st, 2021. Order of Business 15.
Order of Business 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sadly, over the years, we have seen trusted professionals use their position of power to take advantage of patients when they were not aware or conscious, and I believe this will protect those individuals, and I strongly support and urge my fellow colleagues to do as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote? On
Yes.
Senate Bill 196, yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. The bill received the constitutional majority. Declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Senate Bill 203, introduced by Senators John Deere Loop et al., an act relating to civil actions, revising provisions relating to civil actions involving certain sexual offenses and providing other measures properly thereto. The people's state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 5, end of Section 5, end of bill.
Are there amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks? Assemblywoman Krasner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 203 actually extends the current 20-year statute of limitations after a plaintiff reaches 18 years of age on commencing a civil action to recover damages for sexual abuse or sexual exploitation that occurred when the plaintiff was less than 18 years of age, and for injuries suffered by a victim of pornography involving minors. A plaintiff may bring such an action against a perpetrator or whoever knowingly benefits financially by receiving anything of value from participation in a venture which that person knew or should have known has engaged in an act in violation of the provisions of the bill. Thank you.
Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 203?
No.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted no.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 32 ayes, 9 nays. The bill having received the constitutional majority. Declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Senate Bill 2.
Mr. Speaker, if we could go to Order Business 8.
Order Business 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Senate Bills 229, 237, 245, 247, 248, 249, 251, 253, 259, 260, and 268 be taken from their place in general file and be moved to the top of general file.
Move to the top.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll go back to Order Business 12.
Senate Bill 253 is on the desk.
Yeah, not that one.
Pardon me? So not that one?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Senate Bill 229. Are you ready?
And then if I could just see the board real quick.
She's working on it.
You want a 1 minute recess?
Thank you. 1 minute recess, Mr. Speaker. But just stand at ease, don't go anywhere. Sergeant of Arms, lock the doors. No.
We're live.
If I could have everyone's attention for just a moment. Broadcast is live right now. So with that, I would like to adjourn Ways and Means. I don't want all those folks, all those agency folks out there waiting for us to come back in. It's a little bit before 5. You're all released. Anything that was on the agenda today will roll to tomorrow. I apologize for it being a Saturday, but we'll get as much work done tomorrow as we can. So Ways and Means is adjourned.